So it's time for Vinyl Tag 2023. Welcome to the channel. Now this is my first year doing this because my channel didn't start until March 1st of 2022. So I'm kind of getting up to speed on how this works. And so the illustrious Rob Walker started this, it appears, and I appreciate it. It's an interesting way to look back at the year. So the first one won't be a surprise because I believe I may have done a video on this one already. My favorite new release of 2022 was Tears for Fears, The Tipping Point. And you'll notice on this one, there is a sticker there, and there actually is a 7-inch record that comes with this from Target that provides 2 additional tracks, which is a great deal. So if you want to pick that album up, that's the place to get it for sure. All right, so that's the #1 album I had for the year. The last band or solo artist I saw live was actually late in 2021. A couple shows I had tickets to in 2022 didn't pan out for a variety of reasons, but my last concert I went to was in Tomball, Texas, which is just outside Houston, and a place called Main Street Crossing, a small, intimate, maybe 100 people max kind of place, if that, like dinner tables, and you could drink there, and small stage, very intimate. And the performer there was Miss Carla Bonoff. And if you don't know Carla, she's written quite a few hits for Linda Ronstadt and a few others. She came in with the Eagles back in the day before they even got popular. So she's a great songwriter. Carla actually signed these albums for me when I was there after the concert. Very nice of her. So these are very easy to find records. Very, very fine vocalist and writer. She has what I call an angelic voice. And I'll be doing an artist profile on her this year. I'm going to see her again here at the end of January at the same location, actually. So looking forward to that as my first concert of 2023. So kind of bookending it with the same artist, but she's just so good in concert, and so her voice is so true to her recordings. Next one, #3, is the best album was the first album. And there's several of these. And because I didn't want to repeat some things, I went ahead and pulled this one. I do believe, and maybe a lot of people will agree, that Boston's first album was a great album. Probably their best. So the first Boston album, self-titled, with, of course, the big hit More Than a Feeling on it, was a great first album. Now we're going to get into the hat trick, a vinyl, CD, and cassette of an album. So this one I don't want to say cheat on because that's not accurate. I'm going to show you a little deviation from this hat trick, but I think it's still a hat trick. So this is a local artist out of Denton, Texas, which is a college town basically north of Dallas. And a lady that I've been following for, 8 years at least, I'd say. Her name is Jessie Fry. And she's kind of an indie artist. And this is her album. And it's called Kiss Me in the Rain. It was her most recent album. And so here's the vinyl. And it's a colored vinyl. And when I bought this package off the her website, the internet, it had the cassette for it as well. And there were different colors of the cassette, actually, which was kind of unique. But the deviation is it didn't come with a CD. It came with a mini disc, which is actually a 3-inch CD housed inside of a plastic gizmo, I guess I'll call it, for lack of a better term. And that is playable on mini disc players, which you will rarely find anymore. So that's how I pulled off the hat trick there. All right. So, number 5, album that starts and ends with the same letter. Well, we're going to do the very front of the alphabet because it makes it easy for me. And we have Steely Dan Asia, of course. This is my Mobile Fidelity release that I got when it came out back in the day. And so Steely Dan Asia is my entry for number 5, album that starts and ends with the same letter. That was easy. Someone born in the same year as me. So I'm going to put up one of my top 5 artists, Michael W. Smith, probably my favorite solo male artist. He's a Christian contemporary singer, and this album is called Go West, Young Man. And this one also is going to meet my criteria for the Grail, although I have another one to show. But I found this in Sweden. Of all places, being a Christian contemporary album, I found it in a hard rock shop. But Michael W. Smith, born 1957, the same year as I was born. All right, moving on, the most listened to album. And it is Steely Dan's Can't Buy a Thrill. Now, of course, we have here the UHQR. They got released by Analog Productions, but I listen to this album a lot every year. It's one of my favorite albums in my top 5, easily probably top 3. So this year I obviously gave it a lot more of a listen because I picked up the UHQR. I also picked up the Universal, did a lot of comparisons, but really listened to the UHQR a lot once I got it. It is the reissue of the year, in my opinion, bar none, no doubt about it whatsoever. So most listened to album, again, is Steely Dan's Can't Buy a Thrill. Number 8, the most listened to artist in 2022. Well, I'd say it has to be Steely Dan. Just a few of their albums here that I've got in front of me. Countdown to Ecstasy was their second. Their third was Pretzel Logic. So these happen to be all my quad versions. I just happen to have those nearby. So Steely Dan is a favorite of mine generally. But this year, with the announcement of the re-release of their catalog in audiophile format through Analog Productions, and visiting them in late August and meeting Chad Kassem and just really getting into the whole Steely Dan news and the Steely Dan aura of this whole idea of whether their tapes were available to do this and getting this whole deal done. And I really kind of immersed myself a bit into them. I listen to them a lot generally. So this just kind of added fuel to the fire, so to speak, for 2022. So for number 9, we got the Australian artist or band, and I chose Men at Work. Colin Hay and the band, and this was their debut album. This is a Japanese version. And so when I figured out who this was going to be, I said, who could it be now? Well, it's going to be Men at Work, obviously. These guys were a great band, had several top 40 hits, top 10 hits even, and several great albums. So I tip my hats to them for being the only Aussie band I could think of on a short thought. And the next one I'm coming up with is number 10, and that is Surprising Purchase of 2022. Well, this is surprising in several ways. This is Chris Isaak's Heart-Shaped World. It's an RSD essential. So I didn't know much about Chris Isaak at all. And when I bought this album, it was because I had heard the recording was great and the pressing was great and the mastering was great. And boy, they are. If you see that album, pick it up. If nothing more for the sonics of it. It is just fabulous. And there was a song on there that I did know, which I really didn't realize at the time. And of course, that is Wicked Game. I believe I saw it in a movie or a TV show, and I recognized the eerie sounds of that song very quickly. So that was number 10. It was a surprise purchase because the audio quality was just so darn good. Number 11, an artist or band that I have a complete discography of all of their records. And there's so many, I'm not going to pull them all out, but I'll just bring out one, and that is Bread. And this is their Baby I'ma Want You, which was a very successful album, but I have their entire catalog. This happens to be the only mobile fidelity of Bread that was done, and it is fabulous. So Bread, David Gates and Bread, and James Griffin, and Larry Netchell, and Mike Botts, Bread. All right, a great run of 3 albums in a row, and I'm going to go back to Tears for Fears, because we have first The Hurting, which was their debut album. And this album just really was a classic for a very first album. Great Mad World and several other great hits on here. Really love that first album. Then their second album was a big album, a big commercial success. Songs from the Big Chair, Everybody Wants to Rule the World, Shout. Everybody knows those songs. Then their third album was The Seeds of Love, which had Sowing the Seeds of Love. Another great album. I thought these were really bang, bang, bang. Now, you know, you can go to the Beatles, of course. Those are easy pickings to pick them. And I thought I would really stretch a bit and think about, 3 in a row that really were impressive to me, and those Tears for Fears. And now here they have, for me at least, the album of the year. So they just keep on trucking. 80s soundtrack, that is number 13. And I will tell you, most of my soundtracks are from the 80s that I have on record. And I pulled a few of them, and then I finally said, I'm going to show this one, because this one you don't see a lot. Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. John Candy and Steve Martin. But there are some really great fun songs on this album. So that's my number 13, my 80s soundtrack. And then number 14, artist that we lost in 2022 toward the end of the year, Christine McVie, her solo album here. Obviously one of the gals in Fleetwood Mac from the beginning, and just a great artist, and a wonderful voice, and another loss that we've had. Okay. How about the disappointment purchase of 2022? Well, they made this one available again through MoFi, and I got it, thinking, okay, this is a MoFi. This ought to be pretty good. This was a great recording in the first place. So it was the Cars debut album. Well, needless to say, because it's in this position number 15 of disappointing purchases, I did not think much of this pressing. I thought my OG sounded better, actually. And unfortunately, that's the case with some MoFis. And, that's not just the digital issue, which is a separate matter, but just the fact that one just didn't turn out well. It was so well done, so well recorded, and the original just really holds up against it. Next, 16, non-vinyl purchase. So it's a little bit heavy, so I'm getting a grip on this. These are some books, some Beatle books. Okay. These are by Bruce Spicer. And we have here Sgt. Pepper's, Let It Be, Back to Abbey Road, and the White Album and the Launch of Apple. So great books on the Beatles. That was a purchase I made this year that was non-vinyl. A Grail. Well, I talked about the Michael W. Smith earlier, but the other Grail is Led Zeppelin to Robert Ludwig, RL on both sides, that I purchased. It is in VG Plus condition, which a lot of them are not in good condition. And I picked this up in Sweden for $40 US. Boy, did I run out of that place. My goodness. And oh, by the way, all of the hype about that is true. It just blows you away. There's nothing like it. Nothing like it at all. All right, we're getting down to number 18, space-themed album sleeve or song. Well, I'd say ELO's Out of the Blue, this is a picture disc of it, is pretty darn spacey. Pretty darn spacey. And the interior has it. So, ELO Out of the Blue, great album, just a fabulous album, and it's spacey to boot. All right, next, some VCLT or a present. So this was given to me as a freebie thrown in by my friend Armando Cardoso. He is starting a venture called Vintage Mio, which he's had for a bit through Second Chance Records Group on Facebook, and now he's going to be having a website and selling. He's been selling on Discogs for a while, and bought quite a few things from him, and he often throws in some free records. And this one it's a Mickey Spillane, the music from Mickey Spillane's Mike Hammer. It's like jazz. And man, this is fabulous. Wow. It's a living stereo RCA, and it's on what they call a Miracle Surface. Ooh, Miracle Surface. The super vinyl of its day, I guess. But man, this was unbelievable. I just can't believe how much I enjoy the music on here. And it was a gift. It was a freebie thrown in. So thank you, Armando Cardoso. Vintage Mio is a seller on Discogs, and he'll be coming out with some more details on his business as the year gets started here. And number 20, last but not least, what is an album of 1973? Well, boy, there's so many good ones that came out that year. This is an easy slam dunk on this, and I just can't help but do it. But it's got to be Pink Floyd's Dark Side of the Moon, right? It's got to be. And this is the Pro Use series from Japan. It is to me, it is pretty darn close to the 2A, 2B that is so expensive. This is a few $100s, but a lot of great albums came out in 1973, obviously. So that's my 20 for this particular Vinyl Tag 2023. Again, thanks to Rob for doing this. I hope you all have enjoyed it. I've enjoyed looking at everybody else's, and let's keep the vinyl rolling. As always, thanks for watching, and if you would subscribe, click on that bell down there, and the black one will get you all notifications. Thumbs up is great, as well as a comment. And so for now, again, I say thanks for watching as we catch you next time on the Safe and Sound Texas Audio Excursion. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.